In 2018, a mysterious smartphone began quietly spreading through the criminal underworld. Its name was Anom, and it was sold as a phone for criminals by criminals. Drug cartels, hitmen, arms dealers, and mobsters across the world rushed to get their hands on it. The device promised total privacy, untraceable communication, and unbreakable encryption. It was everything they had ever wanted, a way to stay in the shadows forever. But what none of them knew was that this miracle of secrecy was actually the greatest trap in criminal history. Because Anom wasn't built by criminals at all, it was built by the FBI. To understand how this trap was set, we need to go back to the early 2000s. The organized crime world has always been quick to adapt. Every time police developed new surveillance tools, criminals evolved to stay one step ahead. Wiretaps, hidden mics, and phone tracking once made it nearly impossible for gangs to communicate safely. But as technology advanced, so did crime. What followed was the birth of the encrypted phone revolution, devices stripped of normal functions and fitted with military-grade encryption to ensure complete secrecy. One of the first and most infamous was Phantom Secure, created in 2008 by a Canadian tech entrepreneur named Vincent Ramos. Ramos had spotted a unique opportunity. Criminals around the world needed a secure way to talk without the risk of being overheard. He took regular BlackBerry phones and removed every component that could expose users. Cameras, microphones, GPS chips, and location services were all stripped away. What remained was a silent machine dedicated entirely to encrypted messaging. Ramos installed pretty good privacy, PGP encryption software, ensuring that no one could read messages without the private key. The phones also had a remote wipe feature, allowing users to erase everything instantly. For smugglers, traffickers, and cartel leaders, it was revolutionary. They could now coordinate massive drug shipments or money transfers without the fear of law enforcement listening in. The product spread fast. Soon, Phantom Secure was being used by major criminal organizations across continents. The company grew rapidly, earning Ramos millions of dollars as his clients ranged from local gangs to international drug lords. Then, in 2014, an Australian news report accidentally turned Phantom Secure into a household name in the underworld. The report warned the public that criminals were using encrypted phones, but to criminals, it was free advertising. Within months, the devices became a must-have. But while Ramos was getting rich, he had no idea the FBI was already watching. Investigators realized that to catch the biggest players, they needed to target the tools that connected them. By 2018, after years of surveillance, they finally made their move. In March 2018, Ramos was arrested, Phantom Secure's servers were seized, and its global network collapsed. Thousands of criminals lost their trusted means of communication overnight. The takedown shook the underworld. Encrypted phone networks were now being hunted relentlessly. Every cartel, every gang, and every syndicate suddenly had to go silent. Yet the need for privacy didn't vanish. Criminals began turning to other encrypted phones like Sky, ECC, and EncroChat, but these too were infiltrated by law enforcement. Bit by bit, the underworld was running out of options. That's when the FBI conceived one of the boldest ideas in modern policing. If they couldn't stop encrypted phones, they would create their own. So began Operation Trojan Shield, the most ambitious sting operation ever attempted. The FBI secretly developed a new encrypted smartphone called Anom. It was engineered to look legitimate, function smoothly, and seem completely independent of law enforcement. The device ran a custom system named Arcane OS, stripped of all normal Android tracking code. On the surface, it appeared like any other phone. It even had fake apps, Netflix, Instagram, Tinder, Candy Crush, everything designed to make it look ordinary. None of them worked. They were just digital camouflage. The real messaging app was hidden behind the calculator. To open it, users had to type a secret PIN and hold the equals button. Only then did the true interface appear, a concealed chat system widely adopted for criminal coordination. The app had every feature criminals wanted. Messages were end-to-end encrypted and could self-destruct after a set time. anywhere from 30 seconds to 7 days. Photos automatically blur faces. Voice messages could be altered to disguise the speaker's identity. And if police ever got close, users could remotely wipe the phone with a single command. ANØM seemed flawless. Interception authority was obtained via Lithuanian court orders. The hosting jurisdiction details varied across partners outside the jurisdictions of the Five Eyes Alliance and the European Union's data-sharing frameworks under a legal cooperation agreement with the FBI. But it was all an illusion. Every message, every voice clip, and every photo sent through ANØM secretly passed through servers controlled by the FBI. The agency had built a back door that allowed agents to read everything in real time. It was the digital equivalent of bugging every meeting, every deal, every hit across the criminal world. The first rollout began quietly in Australia. The Australian Federal Police worked with trusted underworld figures to distribute the phones. Soon, whispers about a new, ultra-secure device spread through criminal circles. Drug lords, mobsters, and traffickers lined up to get one. Within months, hundreds of phones were in use. Seeing its success, the FBI expanded distribution worldwide. Criminal networks began using ANØM as their main communication tool. In less than 3 years, over 12,000 devices were sold and used by 300 criminal organizations in over 100 countries. It became the new Phantom Secure, the gold standard of secrecy. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, FBI analysts were monitoring 27 million messages, reading details about cocaine shipments, assassination plots, arms deals, and massive money laundering operations. It was like tapping into a live feed of global organized crime, but having access to all that information came with a moral dilemma. The FBI couldn't act on every plan it uncovered without revealing the operation. Doing so would make criminals suspicious and end the sting prematurely. Agents had to let certain deals and even murders go ahead to protect the greater mission. Only in cases where lives were at immediate risk did they intervene, roughly 150 times, according to reports. Still, the idea that people were killed using a government-run platform remains one of the operation's darkest shadows. By 2021, suspicions were growing. Some underworld figures began wondering how law enforcement seemed to be one step ahead. Whispers circulated that maybe ANØM wasn't as private as everyone thought. But before paranoia could spread too far, the FBI decided to strike. There was another reason for the urgency. The FBI's legal authority to intercept ANØM messages came from a Lithuanian court order, which was set to expire on June 7, 2021. Once that date passed, they could no longer legally collect data. It was now or never. The plan was simple: a global coordinated strike, hitting all targets at once. Over 10,000 officers from multiple countries are prepared to act in perfect synchronization. At midnight on June 7th, Operation Trojan Shield went live. In Australia, the AFP raided dozens of locations tied to the Comanchero Motorcycle Club, one of the most violent gangs in the country. Drug labs were dismantled, and warehouses stacked with cocaine, meth, and weapons were seized. In Europe, Europol led massive operations across the continent. In the Netherlands, the infamous micro-mafia was struck. In Spain, police targeted the Albanian mafia. While in Italy, the powerful 'Ndrangheta crime family was hit in coordinated sweeps. For the first time in decades, European law enforcement managed to arrest dozens of high-ranking mobsters simultaneously, leaving no time for escape. In the United States, the FBI went after some of the most feared gangs, the Mexican mafia, MS-13, and others, entrenched in drug smuggling and trafficking. From Los Angeles to New York, agents stormed homes, seized drugs, cash, and weapons, and arrested top leaders who had been operating untouchable for years. When the dust settled, the numbers were staggering. More than 800 people were arrested, 38 tons of illegal drugs were seized, 250 firearms were confiscated, and $48 million in cash was confiscated. Entire crime networks were dismantled in a single night. It was one of the biggest law enforcement victories in modern history. The sting also exposed the deep psychological impact of deception. The criminals never suspected that their trusted lifeline, their encrypted phone, was the very thing leading the FBI straight to them. The aftermath was chaos. In the days following the operation, underworld organizations across continents fell into panic. No one knew who to trust. Many destroyed their phones, shut down networks, and fled. The underworld had been turned upside down. The FBI's objective had always been more than just arrests. They wanted to destroy the illusion of digital safety. By showing they could secretly create and run an entire encrypted network, they sent a chilling message to criminals everywhere. Criminal networks could not rely on any single platform to remain unexposed. In the years since, Operation Trojan Shield has become a case study in modern espionage. It blurred the line between law enforcement and deception, raising ethical questions about surveillance, entrapment, and privacy. But for investigators, the operation proved one thing beyond doubt. The best way to catch a criminal isn't always to pursue them. In this instance, offenders approach the platform voluntarily. And that's exactly what Anom did. It turned secrecy into exposure, arrogance into evidence, and trust into the ultimate betrayal. Today, the phone that promised freedom is remembered as the device that destroyed global organized crime's illusion of privacy